Specht versus Netscape by Josiah Jennings. What are click agreements? Click agreements are also known as click wrap licenses or click-through agreements. Practical Law by Thomas Rutter states a form of agreement used for software licensing, websites, and other electronic media. It requires the user to agree to terms and conditions before using a website or completing an installation of online purchases processed. So what are click agreements? Click agreements are a form of electronic signature which you are required to check the box electronically and sign an agreement that allows you to access info from a site or a service a company may offer. This also includes software or other forms of communication, things like that. Basically, clicking the box allows you to gain access to software or a certain product. By clicking the box, you're signing that you have acknowledged the terms and conditions of the agreement. And another example of what you might have to use a click agreement for would be a company that supplies something like Amazon Prime. Specht versus Netscape case summary. Plaintiff Specht filed a suit against Netscape, who was the defendant. Specht argued for a negotiation on the grounds of online contractual agreements. This is because Specht had found that Netscape, the defendant, allegedly, when downloading the smart download programming offered by Netscape, was unlawfully eavesdropping on Specht and other internet activity and communication, not just for him, for all users. It was found that Netscape's software, when downloaded by plaintiffs, did not have to read the agreements fully. This included the arbitration clause or the negotiation clause. Before he agreed to the terms and conditions and downloaded the software, there was no notice stating what he'd be agreeing to when downloading the software. The court established when downloading the software did not support Netscape, meaning that there was no notice, as I said before. The court ruled that most internet users would not be expected to yield with an arbitration clause, especially when installing free software. This is supplied by case summary, Specht versus Netscape 2021. Upon the ruling, Netscape, the defendant, appealed. This is because there was found no sensible notice, as I said before. Court ruling. The court ruled that many, if not all, internet users would most likely not have pre-existing knowledge and understanding the terms and conditions of downloaded Netscape software. Just like you probably wouldn't know the ins and outs of a company when you're downloading their software. What you see is what you get, and you would think that when you're checking the box, you'd be notified about what you were getting. In this case, he was not. Meaning Netscape, the defendant, could not show logical awareness of the terms and conditions, which resulted in Netscape's appealing. In my opinion, this case and other kinds of lawsuits such as this one should be brought to light in all corporations and companies, especially with all the crazy amount of electronic interface we have every day, all day. Netscape was able to manipulate what kind of information was monitored or taken from Specht, and it was all dependent on what information about the terms and conditions were disclosed to the user. In this case, Netscape was able to somehow hide what was truly happening when using their software. This is extremely unfair and should not be tolerated by any company or service without the authority of the user who knows what is happening when using their services provided. So things like this just shouldn't be allowed unless they're permitted by the customer. In this case, Specht was in the right. He was notified about what would happen while using their software, and Netscape essentially kind of hid what they were going for, what they're actually doing. This also goes for click agreements and how important it can be to read the terms when using or downloading software. Yeah, that's my opinion. Here are my sources. That's it.